Hi there everyone, it's Misty here. Welcome back to the ScrapbookPal.com YouTube channel. Thank you so much for joining me. In today's video, I am using the Thanks for Being There suite from Pinkfresh Studio, and we're going to be making a fun card. So I am stamping the stamp in opposite corners using the Honeybee Stamps No Line ink. And it looks dark because I had actually stamped this in black before and didn't clean the stamp very well. Story of my life. Because initially I had a completely different color story in mind. I was going to use saltwater taffy and all of those colors that you saw at the beginning, but I did one and I was like, you know what, I'm going to go with something a bit softer. So I have a whole host of them. I'm using shaded lilac, milled lavender, tattered rose. We have a little bit of Kitsch flamingo, cracked pistachio. Of course, as always, the supplies are listed in the description box down below, and they're also on the blog post. So I also tried out the 1/4 inch brushes from Pinkfresh Studio, and I love these. I do feel like I needed one a little bit bigger for this size of image, but I really like their style. They were easy to use, easy to hold on to. I do have rheumatoid arthritis and sometimes I have grip and dexterity issues, but these were absolutely no problem. And lining up the stencil was no problem either. So all of these stencils are labeled at the top. So it says stencil 1, stencil 2, stencil 3, stencil 4, and then you just line it up. And it looks a little crooked because they are mirrored opposites of each other because there's one in each corner. I considered initially this was going to be like a white background with the flower being in the front, being colored. And I kind of like this better. I really like how this card turned out. I like how soft it is. We are still in summer here in Dallas. It was 106 when we were out earlier. So we have not had any break from the heat. So any flowers would be dead by now, but I love a soft pastel group of flowers in the springtime. And I thought that this was a perfect color story for these flowers from Pinkfresh Studio. I think that Pinkfresh Studio has some of the most beautiful florals on the market. And I also love that a lot of them come with the coordinating stencils. That way, if you want to color, but you're not someone who wants to own markers, etc., you can still color in these beautiful images, but with ink rather than markers or pencils, crayons, etc. I forgot to mention I brought in a little bit of dried marigold for the center of the purple floral. So you just line it up and you just go. It's really, really simple. If you haven't tried any of these, I highly suggest it. I know more companies are doing this as well. I know Altenew has done it, and ScrapbookPal does carry Altenew. So definitely check it out, especially now that we're getting close to Christmas. I saw Pinkfresh has a ornament that has some stencils with it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, my Christmas crafting list is way long. My husband's going to be like, Misty, you can't have everything. What he doesn't know won't hurt him, I promise. So again, here this is the last stencil and just getting it lined up. And then we will be just about done. This is the next to last stencil. My apologies, because the leaves are the very, very last. Now, after you do all this inking, you could go in and add some more dimension by adding a different, ink color or blending something on top. I am using the Distress Oxides. Those are my favorite. I know a lot of people love the original Distress inks, but I actually prefer the Oxides. I love that they're opaque. I love that they are, easy to blend. I love that you don't lose the color variation when you do like an ombre or something. So they are my absolute favorite. I do have some Distress. I have mostly the mini ink cubes because I just don't use them very often. But I have almost all of the Distress inks, the Oxides. I need a few more, but it's like, okay, Misty, your nail racks are completely full and you have no other place to store them. So I'm going to have to just have FOMO or whatever. Just kidding. So for the leaves, I brought in cracked pistachio, which is a little bit brighter, but again, So I'm going for a more of a spring bouquet kind of look, and I really do love these colors together. I think it's the perfect kind of spring pastel palette and absolutely beautiful. And again, works so well with this stamp set. So I am going to stamp it again. This time I'm going to be using VersaFine. Well, first I went in with Memento. I'm like, Misty, you're going to emboss. You can't use Memento ink to emboss. So I'm going to use this kind of static tool to remove the static from the paper. And then I'm going to stamp using VersaFine Onyx Black ink. It is a pigment ink, and I am embossing in a deep silver. So I knew that I didn't have to worry about having a light colored ink. You could use Versa Mark if you had it. But yeah, so if you've never tried heat embossing, oh my word, this is the perfect time of year for heat embossing because it makes holiday cards just absolutely gorgeous. You want to remove the static, then you need to stamp with a sticky ink. You can use Versa Mark, Versa Fine. I know Tim Holtz has a couple of embossing ink pads. Most companies that have inks now have an embossing ink pad. You just put on your powder and then you heat it with a heat tool. You cannot use a regular old hair dryer. You do need a heat tool, and there are several on the market. And yeah, it's such a fun effect. It's such a fun effect. And I absolutely love it. And it's just, especially like I said, for Christmas cards. I know you guys are like, Misty, it's September. I start my holiday card series on Monday for my own channel. I was supposed to start last week, but we lost electricity. We had a freak storm on Sunday. We lost electricity, and then our internet was blown out. So I'm doing this voiceover on Friday. We just got internet back today, and that storm was on Sunday. So yeah, it's been a mess, but so I normally start my holiday card series the Wednesday after Labor Day, but we're starting it a little late over there. But yeah, so I am in a holiday frame of mind. So yeah. Okay, so initially I wasn't quite sure what I wanted for the focal point. I didn't know if I wanted to go ahead and do a colored flower like this, or if I wanted to use the white. So I went ahead and stamped on this peach color, and I did it on that kind of periwinkle color. I left this in even though I'm really not going to use them, but I just wanted to show you how it looks on colored paper, and you can really see the powder melting when it's on a colored paper rather than the white paper, especially with the lights I have that are reflecting down. And again, you want to remove something to remove static, oils from your fingertips, yeah, etc. So you just want to make sure that you have kind of a clean canvas, something that's not going to hold on to powder, etc. And I am using a coffee filter. I have depotted all of my embossing powders into these little 2-ounce containers, or these 1-ounce containers. They may be 1-ounce containers that I picked up off Amazon. They just fit better in the storage that I have. And yeah, so here you can see how fun it is to watch that powder melt. And it's like I said, it's such a fun technique and such a fun and just gorgeous effect. And it's perfect for holiday cards. So here we go, going through paper. I don't know if I've told you guys before, but I think I have, that I don't do a sample before I sit down to film. I have an idea in mind, and then I just kind of go from there. So I'm, can't decide if I want to do a background paper to ground the focal point, or if I just want to do the focal point. I can't decide if I want to do the peach or the white or the purple. So I just kind of go back and forth until I make my decision. And what I decided on was to have a purple behind the white, kind of like a drop shadow. And then I'm going to bring in, this is a hexagon from Pinkfresh Studio. It's the nested hexagons, I believe. This is actually from a project I did last Christmas for ScrapbookPal. And I had this left over, and I thought, I really like this shape because I can still see the background florals, and that's what I wanted to do. I mean, of course, the white is the focal point, but I really wanted to be able to see those background flowers, and I think this hexagon shape did a really good job for that. And I didn't want to do it in something that was sparkly because I already have embossing that is shiny. So I found an old pad of paper This is from Echo Park. This is probably 10 years old if I had to guess. I am a hoarder of pattern paper. I don't know about you guys, but I found this pretty peach kind of striped, and this is almost a neutral because it is the tiniest bit of pattern, and so our solid neutral, etc. So I went ahead and went with that, and I absolutely love how it grounds the images for the card. So then I was like, okay, what's next? And what I decided to do was bring in a color that closely matched the purple in those flowers. And I'm going to use that as a card base, and I'm going to use it as kind of like a drop shadow on the images. So here again, I just going through all of the paper that I can think of that I have that is a pastel. And then I remembered this paper that I have, and I'm like, okay, this is absolutely perfect. So I'm going to cut this down to 4¼ by 11, score it at 5.5. And then I'm going to cut the other one in half at 5.5. And I'm going to die cut the outline of the floral and the outline of the sentiment to help me create a drop shadow. And this I feel like this kind of really helped that white stick out. And of course, embossing is basically impossible to photograph. So when you see the pictures, it's hard. It looks a little weird because embossing powder is basically impossible. Like the sparkly metallic of it can be impossible to get a good photo of it. So I'm running that through my die cutting machine. And again, I didn't stamp or anything else. This was just plain because I want it to be a little bit of a drop shadow. So I'm going to use some liquid glue. This is Tombow Mono liquid glue, and I'm going to adhere them together and offset them just the tiniest bit. And then we will get them added to the background. I keep these little bowls on my desk. I found these at Dollar Tree eons ago. And it's kind of like a little trash can. So I put like the backs of the adhesive paper and all sorts of other things. And it helps me keep my desk tidy, even though it's never really tidy, but it does help for sure. So I'm adding some foam squares from Scrapbook Adhesive on the back. And then we're going to get this adhered. So I adhered the pattern paper flat, and I'm going to be popping up the floral and the sentiment. So for the sentiment, I'm going to have to cut some of these in half, and I'm using a smaller foam square. And again, all of the supplies are linked down below. So once we do that, I'm going to bring in some of the little jewels from Pinkfresh Studio. I think they look like water droplets, and they're absolutely beautiful. They have so many different colors. And again, something that's on my wish list that hopefully I will get a chance to pick up a little bit later down the road. But yeah, and I adhered those just with some liquid glue. So I guess my question for you guys is, what do you think of this color combination? Are you someone who hates emboss? Is that something you'd like to see more of? Are you already in the holiday frame of mind? Like I did a couple of Halloween cards, and now I'm like, nope, Christmas, let's go. Let's go. I'm ready. Christmas is my most favorite time of the year. And my nephew, he will be around 2.5 around Christmas. And so he's going to be finally to the age where it's fun for him to open presents and see the Christmas tree and stuff like that. And I'm really excited. But I mean, it's been 106 here in Dallas, so this is the best I can do. But anyway, once I do that, that's it. Thank you so much for joining me today. I really do appreciate you. Be sure to check out all of the supplies from Pinkfresh Studio. They will be linked in the description box down below. I hope you have a good day, night, weekend, wherever you are. We will see you in the next video. Bye for now.